United States wasn't letting people in unless they had a personal residence.
Right.
And
Oh.
so they bought it, they brought the proof, and they were able to get back over. Um, they were obviously going to live in
Wow.
the home. They still own the
Yeah.
home, but
Yeah.
they needed to buy something to get back into the
My
United
name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is the Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome to the Closing Table Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin C. McIntosh. Join us on this episode. Excited to pick his brain. Welcome, real estate professional Daniel Blankenship, to the Closing Table. What's going on, Daniel?
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Thank you for being here and accepting our invitation. We don't take that for granted at all. So thank you for taking time out your day.
Of
For
course.
sure. So I want to get to know the person on the other side of this camera before we dig into some things. So Daniel, if you don't mind, in 60 seconds or less, tell us who you are outside of real estate.
Outside of real estate, I love spending time with my family, going traveling. Theme parks is my passion. Also traveling, vacations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, spending time with others is the most important thing, because life is too short. My dad passed away when I was 18, so
Condolences.
it's been almost 12 years, and you just don't realize how life throws at you until
Yeah.
you always think your parents are going to be around.
Oh, man, talk about it. That's the honest to God truth, man.
Yep.
And my condolences to you
Oh,
too, man.
of course.
You know, I know that was a while ago, but I know that never leaves you. So
Oh, no, it doesn't. Absolutely
yeah,
not.
applaud you for just still being you, living your life, and continuing. So good job.
Absolutely. Thank you
So
so
let's
much.
talk about your business, real
Yep.
estate professional. I just want you to just describe your business in as much detail as possible, and if you are able to, talk about your achievements, how long you've been licensed, and/or your specialty or niche.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been licensed since 2012. I started actually in real estate in 2011 when I was 17. I was a
Mhm.
transaction coordinator, intern for a local real estate company. And then that's when I actually graduated high school. 2.5 years. I did 4 years of high school in 2.5 years. So
Oh
brought,
wow!
that brought me into the real estate world pretty fast.
Wait a minute, did I hear that right? You did
Correct.
4 years of high school within 2.5 years?
Yes, I did.
Wow!
So
Wow!
I was able to go to the quote unquote bad school, where it was a continuation high school, which for California credit it was called credit recovery. I used it for credit acceleration. So my first year of high school, I went from ninth grade to 11th grade, and then my second year of high school finished up in just a couple months.
Are you a genius, or who am I
No,
talking to?
no,
Like,
no, no. I just put some hard work in. I was
what?
literally in high school 24 straight months. I didn't take
Right.
summers off.
I feel it.
Um,
Ooh, wow.
when school ended, I went to another program, which was a charter school with an independent study program, and they
Mm,
specialized in credit recovery as well. And then that was able to take me out of high school with a
interesting.
high school diploma in 2.5 years. So
Interesting. Okay, so we have an interesting character on the other side of this camera right here, on the other side of the closing table. I
yep,
like that. All right, so let's dig into it right now.
for sure.
I guess you breezed over it briefly, but let's talk about your
Real
current
estate.
market that you're
Yeah,
serving,
absolutely.
right? Let's describe your current market just geographically for people who may have never been there. Just paint the picture, the culture, the weather, the people, the atmosphere. Go.
Absolutely. So my geographic area is actually kind of different. I specialize in the high desert and the low desert of Southern California. So the high
Mm,
desert anticipates it's a large area. So we have it's south of Las Vegas, Nevada. We're like a rest stop, you want to call it, but it's Victorville, Hesperia, Apple Valley, Lucerne Valley,
mm,
Hesperia, Helendale, actually where I personally live, and then I do dip down into the Coachella Valley, which is Palm Desert, Indio. And then, I grew up in LA County, so I'm familiar with LA County. I have done a couple transactions down there. Um,
okay.
but, specialize in Southern California. I like the desert. The weather on the high desert is different than the low desert. We are
Mm.
cold. We are cold during the winter. We do occasionally get a little bit of snow, not much normally. And then we're hot during the summer, but we're not like the low desert. We get up to like 110, 120 sometimes, and then we cool off at night. Where the Coachella Valley gets up 118 and it stays that way at midnight.
Oh my goodness.
So you don't want. So it depends what you want. If you want a dry heat, you know, and then we are, the high desert. So
I don't know if too many people that would want the dry heat, but I get it.
yeah,
Different strokes for different folks. But
for sure.
okay, so let me get this straight. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let's rewind. You said something I wanna go
Okay.
back on. You said something about it gets a little cold at night or during the winter it gets a little. What's cold to you? What does that look like?
Well, I know you're from Michigan, so our
Yes.
difference of cold, um, the lowest it'll get is about 19 degrees.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Never
Yeah.
mind. Okay,
It'll
that's
freeze.
cold.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is cold.
that's
It
cold. All
yeah,
right.
it's below freezing. But it's not typical. But we try to,
Right, right.
it stays about right now. It's hitting 32-ish today.
Um, See, I'm gonna
But
be
it
honest,
warms up.
man.
But it warms up to 60 to 70 degrees during the winter.
Oh, I'll take that. I'll take that
Yeah.
all day. But see, that's the thing. I'm gonna be honest. As someone born and raised in the Midwest,
Yeah.
literally getting all four seasons, especially a winter. I it's I think of places like California, Florida, Texas, Arizona, Vegas. I think of them as just being hot all the time.
Correct.
Hot all the time. So I'm glad we have you kind of like painting that picture of it because it shows like, no, it can get freezing cold, even
Yes, it
in
can.
California. So
Yes, it
thank
can.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
of
you. Thank
course. We're not your typical, when people think of California, like you said, the sunshine, that we're the beaches. We're not
you.
far
Yeah.
from the beach,
Yeah.
but we're not the beach.
I get it. I get it. All right, cool, cool. So now we got a good picture as to where
Yep.
you are, right? Not necessarily LA. We are in
No.
Cali, right outside of LA.
Yep.
Good. So let's talk about your market economically, right? You're dealing with numbers as a real estate agent.
Yep.
Give us some data. Average price, average sell to list price, days on the market, anything that you can give
Yeah,
us,
for sure.
please.
So, our average price shot up to during the COVID market. It shot up to a little over 440,000 average. It has dipped down, I believe, according to Chicago Title. It dipped down to the average price as of now. I believe was 413 for the area.
Really?
Um, yeah. So we are more affordable, and
Yeah.
we're more affordable in California. So you still can get that nice house for a decent price. I just actually just closed a wonderful repeat client who actually sold her house during the COVID market and then moved up to Oregon. And then she came back and she called me and said, Daniel, I need help with closing costs and stuff like that. And I said, well, let's go looking. So actually, in my town of Silver Lakes, Hellendale, we got her a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house for 399.9, and I got the seller to contribute $11,997
What?
in closing costs back to it.
What? That that is that just that's probably normal for you, but
Yeah,
that is a misconception for someone who likes me, for someone like me who, like I said, has this whole thought of what I feel like life in California is, and
I
you
know.
kind of apply it to the whole state, but that
Yeah,
clearly is not true. I'm
no.
thinking, especially being in California and
Yep.
being so close to LA, we
Yes.
talking about no houses less than 500,000.
Oh,
I'm thinking
for
this.
sure. Oh, for sure. You can't touch a condo like where I grew up in Glendora. I grew up in Glendora when I was 8 years old. We moved out of there. Um, but looking back at my childhood home, it's now worth 1.1 million. My
Yeah.
grandma's home that I actually helped her sold in Claremont is now worth 1.5. She sold it for a half a million
Mm,
when my dad passed away. So yeah.
mm, mm.
So
Man,
yeah,
the
you are
equity.
correct. The closer you get to LA, the more money you're going to spend, the further you get away. And a lot of people, the biggest objection I get in my area is you live in the middle of nowhere, and I don't want to live in the middle of nowhere. But what a lot of people are doing is they can't afford the LA market anymore, and it's been that way
Right.
for it's been that way for a while.
Mm-hmm.
My first listing in 2012 was $75,000. in my area. So, price has gone up significantly.
$75,000. Was that a home?
It was a house. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in Hellendale, actually. It was $75,000. Was one of the first transactions I ever done.
I could ask 1,000 questions about
Yep.
that, but let me just kind of let's breeze over because we could be here all day. But
Oh, for
okay,
sure.
cool,
Absolutely. I could
cool.
tell you
Well, good
all the
job, though.
stories.
All right, so I want to talk about the fact that you've
For sure.
started in real estate so early, Daniel.
Yes.
I'm talking about way earlier than the average real estate agent. So
Yep.
talk about maybe an experience that you had at an early age and stage in your real estate career that kind of shaped your mentality as a professional going forward.
Absolutely. So my parents were real estate. Well, they were actually pastors, first of all. They were pastors of the Nazarene Church, and then they weren't able to own a home
Mm-hmm.
when you're preaching. So my mom, way before I was born, she decided to go to Robert Allen Nothing Down program, and after that, she was able to buy a couple rental properties. So that happened. And then she told me stories of, like, you got to build wealth through real estate. And I'm like, well, so on the investing side, but that you know, got me going. And maybe I was like, well, just maybe I could actually do, actually that and real estate sales. And college never was in my wheelhouse. I never really wanted to go to college,
Mm.
even though the school district throws that at your face even at an early age, is college, college, college. And it kind of like
Yep.
irritated me a little bit, like when I had guidance counselors in high school and even middle school. They were like, so what college do you want to go to? And I said,
Yep.
I don't want to go to college. so
Ooh.
so
Yeah, I
um
know you could be looked at as an outcast
I
going on. I'm
was
saying,
I was
especially in an environment where that is pushed, like you just said.
Yes. And I said, I don't want to go to college. They're like, what about technical school? I don't want to go to technical school. They even scheduled a field trip to make me go to, we all had to go to this technical school. That's still around today. It's a good school, don't get
Right,
me
right,
wrong.
right,
But I don't want to be a medical assistant. I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be an attorney. I don't want to do this. I don't want years of schooling for, nothing. But anyway.
right. Man, yo, that's crazy.
So that
You
was
knew
that was
what you was going
frowned.
to do
That was
early.
frowned. Yeah, I knew,
Yeah.
and it was frowned upon. So and then I got the number one question is, what if you fail? And I'm like,
Uh-oh.
well, with a real estate license, there's so many different avenues. You could do marketing, you could do sales, you can help people, you can go into coaching, you can do, there's different things. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
sell real estate the rest of your life. And
Correct.
that's what I'm doing now, is I built a team now. Like coaching agents. I like that. I like helping people and
Yeah.
just get a little bit of both the worlds.
I love that, man. I love that. I love that. See, that's believing in yourself
Yep.
early, knowing who you are
Yeah.
early. Like, cause listen, first and foremost, who's to say going to college is a promised road
Oh, for sure.
anyway?
For
You
sure.
see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a significant percentage of people with college degrees who do not work in their field.
I
Okay,
guarantee it.
so
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest failure. Not to call it a failure,
No.
but I think that's the biggest one compared to graduating from high school and going to get your real estate license.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I'm so glad you were able to actually explain that here on this platform. That'll make a great clip, by the way. So
Good.
thank you for putting that into
Of course.
perspective. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I know you also started off with short sales earlier in your
Yes.
career.
Yes.
That's a different kind of ball game, specifically, at least compared to traditional transactions. So, can you talk about how your knowledge in short sales actually helped you in a transaction with a client? And can
Yeah.
you just talk
Absolutely.
about overall the difference between a short sales and a conventional transaction?
Oh, absolutely. So when I got when I got out of high school, 2011 was still the era of REOs, which is a real estate owned foreclosure home, and
Mm-hmm.
short sales. I actually worked for, when I was interning. That was the firm, did nothing but short sales at that point, and so overhearing all the conversations, um, it's a harder sale. It's not a harder, what happens is, with a short sale, is you owe more than the house is worth. So
Mm-hmm.
typically you're not seeing it in this market because everybody has money in this market, equity.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, because of it was part of the trickle down of the 2008 crash when I was still in middle school, believe it or not. But it was still trickling down in 2011, 2012. Homes were sold for 600,000, even in the high desert. So the high desert got up to a really high amount at one point, and then things crashed down. And so you're basically going to the bank and saying, hey, my sellers can't afford the home anymore. They can't afford the payments. They lost their jobs. They lost their dogs, whatever the case may be. You
Mm-hmm.
have to fill out a hardship letter. You get the package together. They sign a listing agreement. And then you send it off to the loss mediation department of the bank, whatever the bank is. Um, Wells Fargo, believe it or not, still to this day, only accepts documents via fax.
Oh wow.
So, anyway, so what happens is they look at it, they think about it, and they'll either approve it or not approve it. And if they do approve it, it does take a long time. So your buyers for a short sale, when they write an offer, they have to be understanding it's going to be if it's not an approved short sale, it can be like a 3 to 6 month or sometimes longer process
Mm-hmm.
of getting that approval. It's sometimes joked around it's a long sale, but the only short thing about it is they're short the balance. They can't. They're
Right, right.
basically you're asking the bank, please do not foreclose. Number one. Number
Right.
two, please forgive the balance. Um, and sometimes that was 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. It just
Woo.
depends on, but that forgiving the balance, then when the seller goes and gets the balance forgiven, they get a 1099 in the mail. So they have to count that as income. And then they're not
Mm.
typically can't buy another home for 2 to 3 years.
Oh, that's not
So
bad.
it's not bad at all. So that you go
Yeah.
rent something, live better, and then you'll
Huh.
be able to buy. Um, so that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But typically in this market, we're not seeing that right now,
Right.
because everybody has some type of equity, or they're not selling; they can afford their payments. So that's what's going on. I actually have seen a couple short sales in our market. It wasn't too terrible. The only reason why they were even selling short is they took out a second and third loans on the thing, and was because of
Mm.
solar, and so that's where we're at with that.
Um, Let me ask you.
Of
I'm
course,
I'm kind of thinking of this question as I'm asking you, right?
yes.
Being from that Southern California area, we hear news of the homelessness situation going on,
Mhm.
specifically in California, maybe even in Los Angeles County. But do you feel like first time home buyers or potential home buyers are being priced out of the market at an exponential rate? Like, especially natives of California, are you seeing a lot of people from other places come to be able to afford these California homes? Or, like I said, is it still reasonably priced? Are the wages and everything in that market still decent enough for a young person being a first time homeowner actually purchasing a home in that area?
It really just depends on what kind of job they have. Our market here is, if you're just doing the basic minimum wage, they might be priced out of the market, due
Mm.
to high interest rates and the higher prices. And then rent is in our market is really has gone up as a lot.
I
The
heard,
average
yeah.
rent is like 22, 2300,
Oh
yeah,
Lord.
for our area, which is really high because start looking back at 2012, 2013, these same houses were 700, $800 a month.
What? Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh,
So the rental market is really strong here. People don't want to be committed to houses, especially for the first time home buyers. But to answer your question, we have what's called the California Down Payment Assistance Program. It's also
oh, there
known
you
as
go.
short as CalHAFA.
Mm-hmm.
CalHAFA is able to help people, first time home buyers, good credit, over 620. Um, they can basically get their down payment and some closing cost wrapped into their loan. It does put a first first and second on your mortgage, as a silent second, I should say. The only
Mm.
way it's you have to pay it back is when you sell the home,
Sell the
you
home.
pay off the home, or refinance the home.
Oh, I can see that. I think we have similar programs like that here in Michigan. Mishta
Yeah,
down payment assistance, and I'm pretty sure
and
other
that does
states have
help.
the same.
And
Right?
then,
Yeah.
uh, and then,
Absolutely.
and then talk about the homeless for a little bit. Yes, we have a homeless problem. You'll mainly see that in like Victorville area. There's old Seventh Street area is pretty getting heavily bad. Um, there's some stuff they're trying to do to help them. However, some of them don't want help; they just want money and stuff like that. So
How was that affecting the real estate market?
it,
These in these camps.
it's
Uh,
not really affecting it because
really?
it might be affecting the commercial real estate, because Seventh Street in our area is kind of like old Route 66 area.
Hmm.
So you see businesses boarded up, unfortunately.
Man.
So that might be actually affecting the commercial real estate, but for residential, it's not affecting it right now.
Okay.
As I'm aware, it might
Right.
be in some areas, but we do have out in Lucerne Valley. There's it's more rural area. There is some like squatter issues, so you don't want to leave your house like boarded up or sometimes like that. But
Mm,
they do come
right.
in and squat. But other than
Mm,
that, that's what would the squatters would affect the real estate market.
right.
And I actually have a listing that we had to foreclose as a private seller. She did an owner finance deal. She foreclosed on it, and there was a squatter, so we had to go out there with the sheriff and get them out.
Ooh,
So
ooh, man, that's nothing that you really want to do in real
now,
life. I tell you that.
now,
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Okay, okay, good, good. Considering the fact that you have seen a lot when it comes to real estate, even at a young age,
yep,
like you said, even in 2008 with the housing crisis, you were in middle school.
yes, I
Now,
was.
I mean, with the knowledge that you know now, you know the effects of it. You probably even knew the effects of it then to
I
some
did.
extent, right?
Yes.
So, with basically given the fact that you've been through a few different major cycles in real estate, you have knowledge as to how to get through them, how to deal with them, etc. How do you use that knowledge and experience to help clients nowadays get through some issues and hurdles they may be dealing with? Or do you have any stories of you having a client during maybe the pandemic and helping them get through a transaction of some sort?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the pandemic, we got to take advantage of the pricing. Obviously, there was less homes on the market, lots
Mm-hmm.
of buyers, people, getting stuck. I got a referral from a Las Vegas realtor. Um, we're good friends, and it was in Pasadena. I wasn't 100%. I'm familiar with the area, but I have never sold anything. I went down, met with the sellers. They were wanting to get out of COVID mark. It was a COVID market. It's 2020, and they wanted to get their home sold and actually move to Las Vegas and get out of California. So it was actually a historical home in Bungalow Heaven. It was a beautiful home. So I never paid a lot of money for photography. I get professional photography on all my listings, don't get me wrong,
There you
but
go.
for this house, it needed special stuff. It needed special photography. It needed everything. So I invested over $1,000 in photography, and we got the house on the market. I wasn't even like within one day, and we had multiple offers. So that wasn't really my doing, but it was the market, the changes, and the actual guy
Yeah.
who actually bought it. It was really weird because we have never really, cons- at least in my area, we have never considered taking an offer that the buyer has never seen the home. So this
Yeah.
buyer's agent came out and she said, "I'm showing your home," and I said, "That's fine. Where's your client?" It's on Zoom. All right, no worries. I have done that too. And he buys the home all cash. Offered,
Mm.
offered. We're listed at 1.3. We ended up closing for 1.358 because the seller, he didn't take the highest offer. He didn't take the lowest offer. He took something right in the middle because the terms and conditions for him was the best. for him. He
Right.
wanted to close
Right.
house before 2020 was over, and we ended up closing on December 31st of 2020. Um,
Wow.
but keep in mind, the
Wow.
day after Thanksgiving is when we put his house on the market. So it was kind of like stressful
Yeah,
of
I
like,
bet.
we need to get this done ASAP, and he wanted to wait till after Thanksgiving. So anyway, 4 days of
What a
showing.
challenge.
It was a challenge. So Friday, we put it on the market Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. Monday, we were reviewing offers. We accepted one on Monday, and that was it. No,
Nice,
no count,
nice.
no counter offer was made. I had a lot of people upset with me, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. I let every agent know, if you're gonna make an offer, make sure the terms and conditions are your best and final,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we don't have time for counters at this point for the
Mm-hmm.
seller.
Mm-hmm.
And he was excited. He thanked me and everything. Um, so that
Man,
was,
it's so much that goes into that, man, bro. That
yeah,
you
it was
are
a
a worker, man. Listen, that is the hard. I talked to so many agents. That
yes.
is the hardest time to try to buy or sell a home. I mean,
And the
I don't
buyer
want to
was
say
in
hardest,
and
but
the buyer was in Germany, and the reason behind that,
what?
yeah, the buyer was in Germany, and I actually asked the agent after we closed, and I said, "Why did they even buy this house?" They said, "We're just trying to get back to the United States." They had dual citizenship, and I guess the United States wasn't letting
Mm,
people in unless they had a personal residence.
right.
And
Oh,
so they bought it, they brought the proof, and they were able to get back over. Um, they were obviously going to live in the
wow.
home. They still own the
Yeah.
home, but
Yeah.
they needed to buy something to get back into the United States.
See, you just added a whole nother level of complexity to that story. So
Yes.
not only is this during the holiday season when a lot of people don't want to be bothered with
Yep.
buying or selling the house and the things that come with that. This is during the winter time when a lot of
Hmm.
people don't want to move. This is during the pandemic also.
Yep.
And you have between what Thanksgiving and the end of the year to
Yes.
actually get it. So, yo, you did a fantastic. That should be made into a movie. Yo. That was crazy. That was nice. That
Yeah.
was nice. That's gonna
Yeah.
make for a great clip right there. I like that. Okay. Okay. So some changing factors. We still in the seller's market, obviously, but to help
Ish.
level the playing field in some ways, what are some ways that you may have been able to receive seller concessions for your clients purchasing this home? Give an example. You just said you had some seller concessions in some previous stores.
Yep.
How are you doing this? How are you leveraging this? How are you making this possible?
Well, it just depends on it. Of course, it depends on the client, what they absolutely need. I don't want to ask for a seller concession if the buyer doesn't absolutely need it, um, because we are ish in a seller's market. And I want to say,
Right.
it's not a total seller's market. I was looking at some data today, and it says
Mm.
it was a sellers have a slight, depends on the area, of course, but my
Okay.
area, sellers have a slight advantage, but sometimes they don't.
Hmm.
So based on the data I was looking at, um, but I don't want to actually absolutely, only when clients absolutely need it. I had a seller, or excuse me, a buyer. We got almost $12,000 in closing costs. They absolutely needed it. Um, I have offers out right now for 300 in the $300,000 price range. They absolutely need it. I'm asking for no more than 3%, even though they can go up to 6%. But it is still harder to get those approved,
Yeah, of
because
course.
some sellers are like wanting the COVID pricing, even though we're been
Yep.
out of that market for a while.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting upset they're not getting multiple offers, but you have to price your house correctly. So
Correct.
there's houses in this market, they're not priced correctly, and as a buyer's agent, you can go in and look at the longer days on market,
Okay.
and you can
Okay.
go in and offer way less,
Use
or
it as
get the seller,
leverage.
or use the
Right.
seller concession as leverage. um,
Ah.
so that's where
Yeah.
we're at.
Yeah. I can understand that. A lot of people still, I think that's still the mindset of a lot of people looking to sell their homes. Like,
Oh, for sure.
oh man, I know such and such sold this home for $750,000 a couple years ago.
Yeah.
That was a couple years ago.
Yes.
Things has completely changed since then. It's
Oh, for
slowed
sure.
down a little bit. And I'm a little bit shocked but not surprised to hear about the data that you just heard,
Yeah.
basically saying specifically in your market, I guess,
Yeah.
the sellers have the slight edge. It's not
Yeah.
as much. Like, I understand it because we're far removed from the pandemic in those times, but to hear that it's kind of starting to adjust a little bit more,
For
that's a
sure.
little bit of light at the end of the tunnel.
And there's buyers out there that want to buy. They're just looking for a good deal. You
Yep,
know,
yep. And
they're
waiting
just
for those interest rates to come down,
they're waiting for the interest rates to come down
I
too,
guess.
but they're still wanting a good deal. They're
Of
not going to
course.
give you that top dollar with, interest rates are coming down, but they're just
Yeah.
not. You can build a new home in my market for $250 a square foot. So your condition of your home needs to be pretty good or as nice to get that extreme top dollar.
I get it. I agree. So to kind of put things a nice bow on it,
Yep.
we want to pick your brain on something. Is there a movie, book, quote, or philosophy that you live by, that you learn, that you feel changed your life professionally or personally, that you can share with us?
Absolutely. There is a one book out there. I believe it's called Clients First. I'm not sure the exact title of it.
Mm-hmm.
You can find it on Amazon. I actually am not a big reader, but I'll listen to stuff that reads stuff to me. Believe it or not. But I have heard that book multiple times.
Right, right.
Basically, it's just putting your clients first. Before your own. Once you take care of your clients, they'll take care of you. And that's been my philosophy from day one is do the best you can for them. Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to want to do business with you, but that's okay. And I had to learn that the hard way a couple times. Even in the downturns of markets, you
Yep.
want to help everyone and anyone, but have to start being picky and about it
That is
because
a
not everybody's going
fact.
to like you or
Yeah.
trust you, and that's exactly where we're at.
I've heard that so many times from different experienced agents
Yeah,
on the closing table. They talk about, and this is why we ask about what is your specific niche or specialty,
for sure.
because you could say you want to help everyone. I feel like that's more of a naive, experienced approach. Like, once you actually know who your audience is, who you appeal to, who you
Yeah.
can connect to, you kind of hone in on that, like the sales funnel, like we said. You kind of
Oh, for
hone in
sure.
on that specific demographic, and like you said, you hit the ground running from there. So it takes like maturity, experience
For
to
sure.
get to that level too.
Well, when
So,
you're starting out brand new, you have to help everyone because you
ooh,
don't
good
know
point. Okay,
you
good
don't have you,
perspective.
you don't know who you're gonna get along with the best. You know.
Yeah. I get it, because it starts off broader at the top of the sales funnel and it gets more narrow as
Yeah.
we get closer to conversion. So,
Absolutely.
well said. Great place to land the plane, Daniel. Thank you so much for pulling up a chair to the closing
Of
table.
course.
At
Thank you
this
so
point,
much.
if you have any last words and or want to tell people how to reach out to you, the floor is yours.
All right. You can definitely reach out to me. My phone number is 760-552-8188, and I'm here to help with your Southern California real estate needs.
Give Daniel a call. We appreciate you again,
Thank you so
Daniel. And for
much.
our YouTube audience, if you gotten this far, give us a like. Appreciate that support. Make sure you also subscribe and share the content. If you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platform, please do the same. Give us a like, 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. And here's a question for the audience before you leave. What did you learn from real estate in 2023 that will help you become a smart home buyer in 2024? Don't tell us now. Leave it in the comments below. Besides that, we will talk to you next time.